Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the SoFLo Sports Show. It's your host, 305 Sports Babe, co-host Lou from Dade. And tonight, we are joined by the great Will Manso, sports director, one of our favorite people in the whole entire world. Does such a great job covering our teams. It's going to be a great night. He was also at joint practice today, which we're going to get into. There was a big joint practice against, we had our Dolphins go against the New York Jets. And that's oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't even know why that just slipped out. Wow. New York Giants ahead of a preseason game on Saturday.
Yeah, big preseason game coming up. Preseason game number 2 for both teams. And as mentioned, we are thrilled, if you will, as in Will's thrills, to be joined by South Florida legend Will Manso. He's sports director for WPLG Local 10, also the host and reporter for the Miami Heat. And now, big news, we'll talk about this later, WPLG Local 10 is now the home of the Heat. And Will's going to explain everything about how you can catch Heat basketball. There's a little bit of a buzz if you haven't been watching all the up-to-date rumors and free agent signings with the Heat. And so Will's going to tell us all about it. So without further ado.
I mean, it's going to be so great to cover the Heat this year. He does such a great job. So without further ado, there he is. Will, how you doing?
Hey, Will.
Good. Hey, good to see you both again. We just saw each other not too long ago over in a sweltering Miami Gardens.
Oh my gosh. It's so hot there. You know, a lot of these players are from South Florida, from the South, so they are conditioned to play. But for those ones who just aren't used to it, it's just brutal out there.
I don't know how they do it. You know, you guys were out there and it was hot. We were in the shade. When we went to talk to the players afterwards, every player that came by it looked like they got out of the sauna. You know, you get out of the sauna and you can't stop sweating, or you leave the gym and you go to sauna. You can't. That's how they came out, just sweating. And I'm thinking of the last 2 hours, all the sweat they already lost. And I know those guys stay hydrated, but my God, it was hot. But it was fun.
So brutal. It's actually some of the hottest temperatures South Florida has ever recorded in history. Our meteorologists would tell us that, but we're definitely feeling it. But we made it through the heat. They made it through the heat, but maybe the heat caused that scrappy practice, because I just want to get into it. Practice today was scrappy. We saw at least 3 to 4 fights. And with that, Austin Jackson gets thrown out of practice. Others may say, let him play competitiveness. Some people might say across the line, but we definitely saw the fights. And what I want to ask you is, based on Coach Hafley's reaction, what is that trying to tell you about the culture that he's trying to build around here by throwing Austin Jackson out of practice?
You know, it was one of those things where I get it, why he does it. And a very wise man told me a long time ago, and I will tell you who that wise man is, because I think Dolphins fans know who that is. And that would be Jim Bandage. May he rest in peace, the great Mad Dog. When I first started at Channel 10, he would talk about, the practice fights was pretty common even back then. And he would talk about a coach will always, for the most part, a coach will tell you on camera and in person, hey, I don't like those fights. It's a bad precedent. That's not what we need. That's not what we're about. I get it. And it's true. But I can guarantee you that when Hafley pops in that film and he looks at Austin Jackson defending himself and teammates coming to his defense, and that big fracas that you posted a video of that was happening on the opposite side of the field, and guys coming to each other's defense, he's going to say, that's the kind of guy I want on my team, a tough guy who protects himself. You don't want to do stupid things. You don't want to be the instigator who's punching people constantly, pushing people, trying to get under people's skin and be that way, because I don't think that's what the culture he wants. But you got to defend yourself. And I thought Aaron Brewer said it best. He said after practice, like, hey, if somebody smacks you in the face or gets in your face and pushes you, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to have to push back a little bit. So I think Haf is trying to set the tone. He's trying to set the culture. I think getting it. One thing I know you both noticed, you noticed who came back in at the end, right, at the 2-minute drill? Austin Jackson. Like he brought him back in because he wanted to work on that 2-minute drill, because he knows he's going to need him in those situations. So I think it sends a good message in the sense, don't be stupid. But at the same time, these guys are football players with a lot of passion, and those things are going to happen.
It reminded me of, when your kid gets misbehave, you put him in timeout. You're like, all right, 5 minutes later, come back in. So that's
you learned your lesson. You learned your lesson. Now don't do it again. Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely. And so, I wanted to ask you also, in terms of the offensive line, obviously has been a story, but also Malik Willis is done, has had a really nice camp. Obviously did well the first week, but a little worried about, the backups right now, because Quinn Ewers is out of action this week. He didn't have a really good showing against Washington preseason game number 1. A very mixed review out of his starts during the last 3 games of the year of last year. So
Yeah.
are you worried about the quarterback room here? It's not like on the other side of the field that we saw today where the Giants are blessed with Jameson Winston. And, of course, him being from FSU. But, by the way, he's a tremendously awesome guy. Great follow, really funny. So Winston is great. But to have a backup like that is a big deal. The Dolphins just don't have that. A little concern over that?
Yeah, I think you have to be, right? I think you have to be because Malik, while he is proven in the sense he's been in the league a few years, he's not proven as a longtime starter, obviously. This is going to be his first crack at really being the guy for hopefully 17 games. And if all goes well, you get a 17-game sample size of Malik Willis being your quarterback, and through the ups and downs, see what you have. But you know, your viewers know, Dolphin fans know, it's hard to stay healthy in the NFL for 17 games at the quarterback position. So there is likely going to be an instance where you're going to need your backup. And right now, it's not looking good. Look, Hafley was asked directly about Quinn Ewers today, and he said, it's hard we've got enough tape on him that we can at least sort of figure out what he is. But at the same time, it's hard to really evaluate further unless you're on the field. He's getting better. He's making improvements as far as his health to get back on the field. But that's going to be a big thing. If the Dolphins, if Malik Willis in a perfect world stays healthy, then great. You get to see him. But if he doesn't, there are concerns there and you mentioned Jameis Winston. The Giants aren't a very good team, at least not, thought to be a very good team this year, but they got a good backup quarterback. And I think it's important for every team to find one. So whether the Dolphins find them in the draft next year as a quarterback of the future, a quarterback of a backup, whatever it may be, it is an issue going into this season. There's no doubt about it.
Definitely. And today was the last day that training camp was open to the public. I feel like it just breezed through, So a lot of days during the week. It's tough for the 9 to 5 regular people to get there, but we were fortunate to make it to 3. So I want to ask you, what has surprised you most about the Dolphins throughout their tenure training camp this year?
I think let's talk about the good and the bad, right? We already mentioned the bad about the offensive line, the concern there. And anytime you're a rebuilding team, the one part you notice it the most is depth. And whenever you start getting and bringing up the quarterback situation, depth is a concern. Depth is an issue because so much of what the Dolphins are focused on. Hafley mentioned something today that caught my attention. And I maybe I had heard it before and I just forgot, or I hadn't heard it before. They have over 40 guys on 1-year contracts. Over 40. So you're talking about the majority of your team is like a prove it now kind of team. So these are guys fighting for their jobs, fighting for their careers. It's a good way as a sense of competition, but it's kind of scary because that means you don't really have a lot of proven depth guys, because guys that are fighting for 1-year contracts aren't guys that are proven, you know what I mean, that have been in the league, that can stay in the league. These are guys fighting for their lives and their careers. So I think the depth is a concern. I think the old line is a concern. I think the good is this. My first impression of Malik Willis, and I think you guys have been out there 3 times and seen and other people that have watched, I think Malik looks good. I really do. I think he looks composed. He clearly has a strong arm. I mean, he has a really strong arm. He can move. He can run. I don't think it looks like he's the kind of guy that's going to get shaken. Look, not that I want to harp on Tua or the past, but you always go back to the recent history. The one that was frustrating about Tua was he would get flustered sometimes. And I think that was for Dolphin fans. You want your quarterback to be composed. And even in bad times when they come, it doesn't look like it's getting to him. And so far from what I've seen from Malik, in the way he speaks, in the way he practices, in the way he played the other day, in the way he acts, he looks like a guy that is going to be even keel, composed, and be able to handle whatever comes his way.
And so you mentioned so many guys who are just on that 1-year contract, which perfectly lay up right to my next question. Once we figure out this final 53-man roster, do you think we're actually going to be better than what the national perspective has us? Once we figure out who those 53 men are going to be, and
it's not even the national perspective, right? Like after I left practice or tonight at my live shots to come here to do this, I stopped by and grabbed a sub down the street from the stadium, and a Dolphin fan was there, and he goes, "Oh, were you at practice?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "What'd you think?" And I told him what I thought. I was honest. I think it's good, bad, ugly. And he goes, "I don't think they're going to win more than a game this year." And I thought, damn, okay. I am not in that category, but here's why. Injuries happen. Fluke games happen. Strong performances happen. The NFL is so year in and year out hard to predict. Do I think the Dolphins are an 8 or 9 win team or a team that's going to flirt with the playoffs? No, I don't. But do I think that they're a 1 or 2 win team? No, I just don't see it. I think there's more there. And I think there's youth there that's talented. I think Jeff Hafley has a really good plan in place. I think the guys are going to play. We mentioned those contracts for motivation and for their careers. I think this is a team that can win a few games. But the question is a few 3 or 4, or is a few 5, 6, 7? I think that's really going to be as the season progresses and you run into those depth issues and health issues that are inevitably going to come. How do they handle that adversity and can they win games that way?
So I got one more before I pass it over to you. So let's say Miami misses the playoffs, but Malik proves that he could be possibly our future quarterback. Do you still consider this upcoming season a success?
Yes, I think if I look identifying what's been the issue with this franchise the last 20 years, right? Post Marino, more than 20 years now, 25 years or so is identifying the quarterback of the future. And at times we've thought that the Dolphins had it. Let's be honest. There were times where we all felt Ryan Tannehill was the guy. There were times where most of us felt that Tua Tagovailoa was the guy. There were times where we felt comfortable in getting a Jay Fiedler or a Chad Pennington as that guy that's just a solid player and performer. And obviously Fiedler won a playoff game and Pennington had that one big season. I mean, but you've never had that feeling of just like, okay, that's the answer. That's the franchise quarterback. Is it Malik Willis? I don't know, but I do know this, and this being told by people there in the building, and I think by our own eyes, the Dolphins really like Malik Willis. The Dolphins brought him here not as a stopgap. The Dolphins brought him here because they really believe that they've got something in him, and now it's his opportunity to prove that they've got something in him. So if they do have something in him and he's really that guy, then absolutely the season is a success because it's so hard to find your starting quarterback, and if he ends up being that guy for the future, then even a 3 or 4 win season is the starting point. Look, you look back at all the great, and I'm not comparing him to great quarterbacks. I'm just saying you look back at great quarterbacks. The Peyton Mannings of the world had 3 win seasons as rookies. You know what I mean? And his first year starters, things like, so you can't judge a quarterback who I call him young because he's never been a starter for a full season like that. You can't judge him on wins and losses right now. He's going to have hopefully talent around him. You got to judge him on his potential. And if he shows it, then it's a success.
No doubt. And listen, the fact that he can create plays with his legs, which is something the Dolphins have not had in a very long time, is refreshing as well. So now, specifically with today's practice, by all accounts, anybody who was there could see it. The Dolphins were pretty much manhandled on the offensive line. Yeah. Again, Jackson not being there for a little bit affected that, but it's going to be an issue, Will. And look, not for this guy, right? So it's because Proctor is a mountain of a man. He's huge. And, so I wouldn't say that the slips were on his side, but, they got to protect, obviously, Malik Willis. That's a huge point. And we also, on the flip side, in defensive, our pass rush has to get going, losing Chubb, losing Phillips, and now Chopper Robinson in year 3 really needs to step up. So where do you see, the deficiencies that maybe need to be made up for on both sides of the line? And how crucial is that going to be for the Dolphins' success?
It's tough because here's the thing. If you have an O-line that struggles to open holes for your main weapon, we haven't mentioned Devon Achane yet because he's the one constant, right? He's the one that you know what you get with Devon Achane. I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. He's one of the best players in the NFL. I mean, what was he, 26 on the top 100? I think that's almost even underrated. But the offensive line has to keep Malik in one piece. And the advantage with Malik is that he can run, he can move. And he showed it today. There were a couple of times, they call them sacks because you can't really finish a sack in a joint practice. But there were times where you could tell there's a guy coming, they considered a sack. I think Malik, as I shut up, hold on, man. They're turning the lights off for me at Channel 10. Hold on. I'm coming. Okay.
Live in the studio, Will Manso. Literally live.
I think we paid the bills here. I think Malik showed the ability that he could duck out of some of those plays and scramble and be the guy that he is athletically. But you don't want your quarterback running for their lives all year long, and because it's going to end up being your backup quarterbacks playing more than you want. So I think the O-line is a concern. I think the D-line is a concern for the thing you mentioned, Lou, is they have to pressure the quarterback. The things you have to do in this league is you have to get after the quarterback is number one, right? You have to make a quarterback uncomfortable. And the one thing the Dolphins did fairly well, at least, when they had Jalen, when they had Bradley, and they had these guys over the years, Ogba, and these guys that they had in the last few years that have done their roles, is they've been able to get to the quarterback. Is Chop the guy this year? Is he going to take that step? If he doesn't, then you're placing a lot of young players in the linebacker group. You're placing a lot of young players and unproven players in a secondary that certainly has a lot of questions. And now when you start going through the levels of the defense, you're like, okay, so if none of the levels of the defense have a real elite kind of ability, then how are they stopping people? And that is a concern. Same with offense. If an offensive line doesn't protect, then how are you opening holes for as great as Devon is if he's not getting holes or opportunities? How are you protecting Malik to try to find those young receivers and the guy he has? That's where I think the concern is legitimate that they have some issues.
No doubt. And going back to Proctor really quick, you're a guy. Look, we talked about it off air, but I want to get your on the record here. Reuben Bain was there, even Caleb Downs, but specifically Bain was there. You think the Dolphins are going to end up regretting the fact that they passed on Reuben Bain and selected Proctor?
No, I'm going to go on the record and say no. Here's the thing: I would have taken Reuben Bain, you know that, and I think, and that's part Homer fan, but also I covered Reuben for the last few years too, and I saw the man that he is. So when you get the perspective of the worker, the person, the teammate, the community person, the leader that a guy is, and Reuben has all those traits at a high level, it's hard for me to sit here and say I would have passed on him. No, I would have taken him. But what gives me encouragement with Proctor is two things. Number one is the need, right? We just talked about it. They need offensive line help, and he's a huge mountain of a man who could provide it. Number two is the way that Hafley and Sullivan talk about him and the way that they say that he does everything that they ask and that he's the kind of foundational piece that they want on the O-line. Hey, if we're talking in 3 to 4 years and saying he is that guy, no matter the career Reuben Bain has in Tampa, which I think is going to be a hell of a career, you can't argue that they didn't make the right choice because it's what they wanted, what they envisioned, what they needed on this offensive line. And I think they have high hopes that Proctor could be that guy.
Okay. And speaking of high hopes, Chris Bell, right? I mean, this guy was a steal of the draft. He's surprisingly active now. And Robert in the room asked a question. You think it's a little higher, but Chris Bell, is it worth getting him out here this soon, or should the Dolphins proceed with extreme caution and treat it like almost him being a first-round pick next year? Because at this point, you are expected, not just by the pundits and the fans and everybody, to not have, this is a reset. This is a rebuild, identifying the young players, and he's one of them, by the way. But what do you think? Do you think they're going to take it easy here? Obviously, no action there today. This is a picture of today's practice. He the whole time you could see he wanted to get in. But how do you think the Dolphins are going to proceed with Chris Bell?
I think they're going to proceed in a very wise way. And the only way you can when you're dealing with this kind of injury, patient. You have to be, there is no rush to get him out there. And I understand because, look, we all saw Chris Bell against the Canes last year.
Yeah.
We saw him in the past. I mean, this kid, and you watch the tape of him, you just go on YouTube and search Chris Bell. The guy looks like an elite receiver, right? At a high level. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He's got everything that you would think you'd want in a guy. And you got him in the third round. That's exciting as hell. Like, that's really, as a Dolphin fan, you have to say to yourself, man, that's awesome. But you also have to take a step back and say he tore his ACL in November. I mean, that's less than a year ago. And I know modern science and I know the technology and the way that guys recover from ACLs is more impressive than ever. But what is the real rush in the sense of getting in? So to answer your question is you have to listen to the doctors and the trainers and the timeline that was laid out, whatever that timeline is, which obviously the Dolphins aren't going to tell us. They're not going to give us a sheet and say, hey, here's what the doctor said about Chris's timeline, when he can be back on the field, when he can play. But he's back, right, on the field, which means the next step is working it with teammates in individual drills, working it with team drills, taking that red non-contact jersey off, seeing what it's like to hit. That is a process. And there's no need to rush any part of that process when you're dealing with a guy with such immense talent that's so young that you think could be a big part of your future. So to answer your question, I think they're going to be patient because I think the timeline for these kind of injuries has to be, you can't skip steps along the way.
Absolutely. All right. So before we move to the Canes, you appreciate this as well. I tweeted this out. A lot of Giants jerseys out there today.
I saw
to your liking. And this is a great one, right? I mean, I put this out there for my money. This is the number one guy defensively that I've seen. I mean, unless they bring back Deacon Jones's stats, that they didn't track when he was playing. LT is the guy for me. But a lot of people responded back. I'm not sure if it was LT. A lot of people had some other people. So these are the three that were brought up in my tweet.
Wait, you said the greatest defensive players of all time, not just Giants. Greatest defensive players of all time.
Defensive player of all time.
Let's see if it's close to my list. Go ahead.
Well, these are the three that were brought up. When I said LT, these are the three. And I know you may be biased, but I want your honest opinion out of these three. These are three main guys right here. So Bruce Smith, LT, or Reggie White, you got to get the quarterback. You need a defensive play. Will, who are you picking out of these three?
You got to make a defensive play. I'm picking LT. You got to get to the quarterback. I'm picking Reggie White. Though obviously LT could get to the quarterback, but Reggie White is the greatest pass rusher with his moves and his strength. I mean, it's insane the things he would do. But LT to me is the greatest defensive player of all time because he did have obviously the pass rush skills and the ability to cover and I mean just tear your head off. I mean, he's just and Bruce Smith, great player as well. Don't get me wrong, but to me the category is separate with LT and Reggie White. I think LT and Reggie White are two of the top 10 players of all time, let alone just defensive players. When I think of all-time great players, LT, Jerry Rice, Reggie White, like those guys are all near the top of the list. Like I wouldn't go, if you told me you thought LT was the greatest player of all time, I wouldn't think you're crazy. Just like Jerry Rice, Reggie White, same thing. Those guys are just a different school. I've had so many people ask me over the years, how are you? I moved to South Florida when I was 10. I got here in the peak beginning of Marino, right? Like that top 1985 is when I moved here to Miami. And I was a 10-year-old kid, but I had already watched 3 or 4 years as a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid learning football of Lawrence Taylor. And I was hooked, man. I was hooked. So I am a Giants fan because of Lawrence Taylor, plain and simple. I saw him play as a kid. My dad didn't watch football. My parents, my dad was an old school Cuban guy, especially in those days. They didn't, Hispanics now, we watch a lot more football now, but in those days it wasn't a thing, as much. So I love LT. I will always be biased toward LT as the greatest.
Well, I too also don't come from a football family. My dad wasn't a football guy. But fun fact, my dad was a police officer and LT lived in the town where my dad was a police officer. And my dad did many, many off-duty jobs securing his house. So my dad has and had a really good relationship with LT.
That's very, and it's funny. I've heard, the whole saying, don't ever meet your heroes.
Yeah.
And obviously, look, LT, we could do a documentary on all the bad stuff he did.
Yes.
Actually, there have been documentaries made on all the bad stuff.
Yeah, there is. They're out there. They're out there.
Yeah. I had never met LT in a personal way up until a few years ago. I had to MC an event, and luckily it was a golf tournament, and LT loves to golf. It was in Broward. It was a charity event, and his group won the tournament. So I had to present him with a trophy, and he was in a great mood. So I took advantage. I said, well, I'm meeting him. He's in a great mood. I'm going to tell him he's my idol. He's the reason I watch football. I love football, and I love the Giants. And he couldn't have been any nicer. He was very pleasant. He said, oh, man, that means a lot. I appreciate that. I think I caught him in a good mood, though, because he was golfing, and he won. Yeah, so that was the perfect time to mention to him that he's the reason I'm a Giants fan.
And he was very great to my dad's department all those years, especially during Christmas.
And I'm with you. It's LT for me. Even though Bruce Smith gave me PTSD with playing them twice and always getting to Marino. Richmond Webb, thank goodness, was on our side and did his best to stop him. By the way, Richmond Webb, as you all know out there, belongs in the Hall of Fame. So hopefully one day he gets out there. But we're joined by the great Will Manso. And yes, definitely hit that like button. If you're watching over our next, come on over to YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're very grateful to be joined by Will. And I know you got some hurricane questions you want to ask.
Right before that, Will, I just want to close out the Dolphins real quick on a rapid fire. This takes like a minute. You just shoot out the first thing that comes to your mind, usually one word.
Okay.
All right. Malik Willis, better, worse, or about what you expected so far?
Better.
Okay. Who's been your Dolphin camp MVP during training camp?
Caleb Douglas. Very impressed.
Biggest breakout candidate?
I think we just mentioned him. I think Caleb and Chris, because I think receivers are such need, but I think Caleb obviously ahead of Chris because he's healthy.
Rookie you're most excited about?
Jacob Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah.
Most underrated Dolphin right now that people are just not really catching up on the radar.
Well, nationally, it's still Devon Achane, not locally, because everybody knows how good Devon Achane is. But nationally, I still think it is Devon Achane. And I think locally, I think people are sleeping on Malik. I think too many people that I talk to say to me, well, we're going to suck, so we'll get a quarterback in next year's draft. And don't get me wrong, they might. They might, A, not be good, and B, when they're not good, have a top 5 pick and go for a quarterback. But I think people are sleeping on Malik a little as to like he's just a stopgap and he's not that good or he's just average. I think he can be more than that. I really do.
Position group you're most worried about?
Offensive line.
Yeah.
Position group you're most confident in?
Running back.
Player who has to have a huge year this year?
Well, the obvious answer is Malik. I mean, he has. I think you can go to Zach Sealer in defense because he's one of the lone proven guys. When we talked about the areas need, if he can get back to what he was a couple of years ago and really be a premier. But again, it's hard because it's such yin and yang. It's like it's so much more helpful for a guy like him when you have guys on the edge that can pressure and he can cause havoc in the middle. It's asking a lot for him to be just the face, but I think he needs to have a big year. But I think the obvious answer, and it's probably for most teams, in a team like this where you're rebuilding and you're young and you don't have a lot of certains, you got to have your quarterback play well. So Malik is probably the most important guy on this team.
And last one on my part for close out the Dolphins. Realistically, give me a number. How many wins do we get this season?
I'm going to be above Vegas. I'll say 5.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's switch to
So yeah, as we transition, you're going to take out these pictures.
I will.
But so yeah, let's talk about the Canes. And so Mario Cristobal signs an extension. He was already under the books for through 2031. Signs an extension. Not really out there how long the extension is going to be, but it's a big sense of relief for all Canes fans because we have not been able to keep the coaches here a long time, even during our glory years. Howard Schellenberger got one, then Jimmy Johnson, Larry Coker, Dennis Erickson. Even Butch Davis wasn't here that long. He didn't win one, but he wasn't here a long time. So the fact that Mario's going to be here a while and not get poached by an SEC team is a big deal. So what are your thoughts on that, and how confident do you feel with knowing that Mario, especially after last year, being as a coach?
Very confident, because here's the thing. The one thing I've always said about Mario, and when he got the job, I said it, and I'll stick with it. There's nobody better for this job than him, to me. And the reason I say that is I know people might be rolling their eyes, go, oh, there could be a better coach out there, a guy who's better game day or better coach, a better name, whatever, proven. Fine, I'll give you that. He's not the best coach in college football, the best coach in sports. I think he's an excellent coach, but I'll give you that maybe there's something better out there. But there's no one better out there that loves this program more and that understands this program more than he does. So you combine his ability as a coach, which I think is excellent, with his passion and love for this program and for this school that is unmatched, that you will not find anywhere else. And to me, he is the perfect coach for the youth. He is. So the next step was, can his plan actually work in getting guys back? And we may have had this conversation one of the times I was on with you, where one of the first things Mario said to me when he got hired, and we were talking about, the last few years, I hadn't seen him in years. And we were talking about, and he looked at me and he goes, hey, what happened here? What happened to this program? I've been gone for years. And obviously he built a nice thing in Oregon, had success there, won a Rose Bowl, won a lot of big games. And he's like, this place, everything's, the way practices are run, the way the facilities look, the way players come in and out, and the way things, what happened to the U? And he said, the first thing he said, I'm gonna clean this place up and make it that again. And that wasn't even the wins and losses. That was just the almost like what Halfley, the foundation, what they want to do. He did that. Okay. Step 2 is win games. They were a drive away from a national championship last year. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, he's the perfect coach, and he's not going anywhere. And I think before it's all said and done, he will win a national title at Miami.
And then keeping up with Coach Cristobal, obviously this man is great at recruiting. He hits jackpots. But with that said, what?
In the transfer portal.
In the transfer portal. Yeah, but then we lost players in the 2026 draft. Akeem Messidor, Ruben Bain, and Mahinoa, which we saw today. But, I mean,
Keontae as well. Yeah.
So how do you replace players who, we're happy that they get drafted, but how do you replace those key players going into this new season?
You don't replace Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor, that's for sure. You just can't. You can't. I mean, but the same way, how do you replace a Cam Ward? I mean, you got a Carson Beck who ended up being a pretty damn good quarterback last year. I think you talk about underrated. I thought he was underrated last year. I think people for some reason, because of the last pass and that last drive, that last play, people had this sour taste in their mouth. He was phenomenal last year for most of the season, and especially in that playoff run. But how do you replace him? You don't. What you do, though, is you have the depth, which was going back to that conversation that you did with Mario about what happened, around the program, within the program too, is they lost all depth. They'd have a couple nice ones, and then they had nobody they could trust behind. But you look at guys now like Ahmad Moten and Justin Scott and these defensive linemen, these big guys that are going to be there, and they're going to keep shut up by lights at Channel 10. So,
it's that Heat money. That Heat contract really did a number on Channel 10's budget.
We're good. I feel like it's like a power circuit now. So you have these guys that you trust, that you brought into the program, and the one thing in talking to those players, we were out there at Coral Gables the other day, and it was Moten or Scott, I can't remember. It was one of those big guys, because they're all big defensive tackles, defensive linemen. He said, look, we are not those guys. Marquise Lightfoot, same thing. We're not those guys, but we have learned from them, and we do have our specific set of skills that we think will be able to be used. And by the way, Corey Heatherman is an incredible defensive coordinator.
Oh, yes.
He's going to find everything that those guys do. Jason Taylor, we love him as a Dolphin. We love him. But JT brings out the best in these rushers and finding the technique to find their best moves. So the moves that Marquise Lightfoot is going to show you this year and coming off the edge and trying to get to the quarterback are not going to be what Ruben did. They're going to be what he does. They're going to be different kind of moves, different kind of styles, but their staff believes in them. So to answer your question, it's just keep bringing guys, keep bringing bodies. You mentioned the transfer portal, recruiting. You get these bodies in, you get the strong coaching staff, and they just keep churning out talent.
And I got one more with the Canes. So you mentioned you were in Coral Gables. So over in Coral Gables, what's the vibe around the building? Like getting so close to winning the national championship. Do you kind of feel like we're confident, disappointment, hunger, pressure? What do you kind of feel that people are carrying these days over there?
I think the disappointment ended in the summer. I think there was a lot of disappointment that fueled guys to work in the summer. I think they put that aside now because they're back to work. I think pressure, it's funny talking to guys with pressure now that nobody seems to be pressured because I think they all believe that they are where they need to be. So there's not like this outside expectation. They expect it. Like it's not like they're like, wow, people really like us and think we're good. No, they think they're really good, so they're not going to worry about the pressure or the expectation of others. But I think I guess the word I would use is hungry. I think hungry for more. I think last year they got a taste of what Miami was supposed to be, what they always wanted to be, what they dreamed. These kids that grew up in South Florida watching the Canes, even if you didn't grow up and you saw what the U was about, and then all of a sudden you see it come to life. And I've told people this, in the month of that Canes run, from that Texas A&M game through the national title game, was the most fun I had as a fan and as a media member covering a team since the big three. It wasn't since the big three that I just enjoyed because it's so cool to see a team just come together and play at that incredible level. So I think they really expect that again. They know that it's not going to be easy. They know that last year's success doesn't mean that they're going to have success this year, but I think they really buy into the whole Mario 1-0, get 1-0, get better every day kind of cliche. But to this day, look, you listen to Ruben and Tampa, you listen to Akeem with the Chargers, you listen to CeCe now with the Giants. They all preach the same things, the things they learned in Coral Gables now at the next level. And I think that's the way this team will do it.
Yep, no doubt. And so looking at the schedule again here, and it starts at Stanford in just 3 Fridays. Three Fridays from tomorrow.
I will be there.
I'm sorry?
I will be there. I can't wait. It's
going to be fun. Oh, great. All right. Well, excellent. All right. So there you go. Great coverage coming up. You know that. So, but it's funny enough. So because of these quirky, Stanford and Cal now being in the ACC, which still doesn't make sense. The fact that this is only going to be their second ever meeting and the Canes' first ever meeting in Palo Alto. The last time a Miami football team was out in Palo Alto was in Super Bowl 1985, Dolphins and 49ers. So hopefully the Canes have a little better success.
Better result, yeah.
Yeah, but look at the schedule, Will, and the big thing that catches your eye here, no ranked opponents except Notre Dame. Notre Dame at number 4, but the rest of the schedule, no ranked opponents. Clemson got some votes, Pitt got some votes, but didn't make the top 25. And so the Canes really need to, they cannot have a misstep like last year. You cannot afford to drop any games. Here are your 3 teams that are ranked in the ACC. Number 19 SMU and 24th ranked Louisville. But again, the Canes don't play them. So how important is for the Canes to run the table and either host a playoff game in the first round at home or, have a bye, because this schedule is not going to allow them to have a slip up.
No, remember there's a national semifinal this year in South Florida too. Last year we had the final game. This year we have a national semifinal. The biggest step this year, honestly, I think for Canes fans, is they got to win the ACC. It's time. That's the one thing they haven't done. First of all, they got to get to the ACC title game, which last year with that convoluted, tiebreaker system, they probably should have been in anyways, but whatever. They weren't. The system is new now. They can't blame the system anymore. They just have to win games. And so what does that entail? You can't slip up against a team, a Louisville. You can't slip up against an SMU, like last year. You can't slip up against these middle tier to, solid 8 to 9 win ACC teams, but not elite teams. If you're going to lose a game, going to South Bend to lose a game is tough. It's going to be a tough game. That's a game they quite frankly could lose. Even though they beat Notre Dame last year, that's a game they could lose. But you just got to find a way to run the table in the ACC. If they do that and get to the ACC title game, they're in perfect position then to get into the playoffs again. And we saw last year, the playoffs are really about getting in and then playing your best football when you get in. But to your point, it's time, man. They got to win the ACC. It is time to do it.
Yeah. And Adrian in the room asked, How good do you think Mensa is going to be? I mean, is he going to be on par with, you think, Cam Ward? Do you think he could have that kind of a season
with all the
here?
talent that we have already built around him?
Yeah, because here's the thing. I'm really excited about Mensa. I don't think he's Cam Ward in the sense. It's hard to compare him to Cam because, man, Cam, we took for granted how good Cam was.
Yeah.
That guy, he was a killer, right? Just killer. Because he's such a unique personality. Like, he's chill, but on the field, he's a killer. Like, he would just, he'll rip your heart out, And he did it in such a cool, calm way. He can run, he can throw the arm angles, the Mahomes type throws that he makes on top of the moves. He's a special talent. Carson Beck, again, I thought was underrated. I really did. I thought he did some excellent things. And look, he's already showing at the next level that now, a couple of years removed from that elbow surgery, that maybe he's going to be that guy that a couple of years ago people thought might be one of the top 10 picks in the draft and an NFL starter. But I think, to answer your question, every report I've gotten, everything I've heard from people, and people that are much wiser than I am, as far as to looking at tape and scouting players, have told me that Mensa is really good, really impressive. I can tell you from experience and talking to him a couple times, really smart, very articulate, a very good leader, knows what to say, very composed, very calm. Kind of I was talking about Malik earlier, that impressed me, that Malik is just very composed. He's a very even keel, composed guy, but don't judge him as just that. He's got enormous talent. He could really throw the ball. He could run. He could throw on the run. He also has some nice arm angles with his throws. I think Canes fans are going to be really happy. And with the weapons he has, I mean, let's face it, you're throwing to Malachi Tony, you're throwing to Cooper Barcade. You got these guys, and you got Mark Fletcher in the backfield. I mean, they have enormous talent, and I think he's going to take advantage of it.
All right, to close the Canes out real quick with another rapid fire. Canes MVP in 2026. Who's it going to be?
Oh, I think it's going to be Mensa.
Who is our best NFL prospect?
Malachi.
Oh, do we have a better offense or better defense, in your opinion, going into the season?
On paper, offense, I think. But I think defense is pretty damn close. I just think those guys we talked about have to show, what they can do.
Darian Mensa, kind of piggybacking on that. Is he a Heisman contender?
Yes. I think a quarterback that has a big year, yes. I think he will be in that conversation.
Who do you think we're going to struggle with more this year? Clemson, Notre Dame, Pitt, or even FSU?
Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to be tough. Notre Dame, I think that gives it November too. In November, in Notre Dame, in that setting where both teams will probably be in that, 5-6-0 range, whatever they are, is going to be tough.
All right, 3 more. Do we make it to that ACC championship game?
Yes.
Do we get to the Are we seeing CFPs next year? College football playoffs.
Yes.
And do we get to the national championship football game again?
Can they turn off the lights? I hope so. Can they? Yes. Will they? That's tough to answer. It's just so hard. We saw last year how much it took, but I do think they have the talent to. It's just, man, it's so hard to know now. But because here's the thing: if you would have asked me this last year, 2 weeks before the start of the season, I would have said no.
I know, we all would have.
And they got to the national title game, so let's just stay healthy, have some fun, and watch this team keep growing.
Perfect. All right, let's cover the Heat real quick.
Before we get to the Heat, really quick, let's glance through the Marlins here. This has been a Dr. Jekyll and Hyde team all season long. Get off to the hot start in April. Then they have an average May, a scorching red hot June, then an uneventful and long losing streak in July, and now again back to average in August.
Yeah.
Will, the Fish are they're off tonight, but you got swept in Philly. Now it's 64-64 on the year. They're 4 games behind the last wild card spot. I mean, I know Stowers has been out. I know that Max Meyer, we're still not sure when his return date is going to be. Do the Fish have one more push in them with 34 games left to maybe make a push towards the postseason?
We have the Nationals coming to town, the Red Sox, we have the Dodgers. There's some tough series coming up.
It is. I think they're done. I think that they've given all they could give to this point through almost 130 games, whatever it is. And I think it's incredible what they've done. I think they've fought hard. I think they're resilient. And I'm not going to say, in the sense when I say done, I'm not saying they're toast, that they're just going to tank and lose, 20 of their last 30 games. But I do think that the uphill climb with some of the injuries you just mentioned and what they have ahead of them, and those teams ahead of them I think are frankly better. I think Philly and San Diego are better. Arizona's a team that's been up and down, but I think they're probably better. St. Louis, they've been a little weird, but again, they're ahead of them, so it's another team you have to catch. I just think it's a lot of teams and a lot of talent to catch for a team that right now at 64-64 is pretty much what you would expect. Mediocre. You were talking about the ups and downs. That's what mediocre teams do. It's a long season. You're going to have tough stretches, but This team just hasn't had enough to get out of that with getting 8-10 games above 500, which is going to likely take to make the playoffs. I just don't think they have that push. But I will say this, it was a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. I think there's some nice young talent and pieces there. Seeing Yuri come together this year as the season's gone on, seeing Sandy getting back to being that ace again. You mentioned Max and becoming an all-star, Otto and being an all-star X, the growth of Griffin Conine. And it looks like he could be a big-time power hitter if he stays healthy. Stowers, we'll see when he stays healthy. There are things there and things in place. Well, I haven't even mentioned maybe one of the biggest things. That's Joe Mack. Having a guy like that, that's your catcher of the future, that not only throws out guys at a higher clip than just about anybody, but he's already set the franchise rookie record for a season in home runs, passing CJ. So that tells you that they have some really nice pieces for the future. But I think this year they're pretty much done, I think, unfortunately.
I just think, Will, like if by some chance we could take some of these series, Red Sox, Nats, Dodgers, and we're going to the one in Arizona. I just feel that if we could somehow get into some October baseball, no team's going to want to play Yuri and Sandy in a 3-game series. I feel like that would be,
if they were to
That's
sneak
the
in,
formula. That's the formula, right? That would be the formula.
no doubt.
So I don't know if it's going to happen. All right. So before I let you go, I don't want to say the big story, but I mean the Miami Heat. And I know it happened a few weeks ago with Giannis, but it's still so fresh. So before we jump into the Heat, your station, I'm going to pull this up here. Some really exciting news.
We are very excited.
Great for everybody. It's a win-win. And
It is one of the rare win-wins because, obviously TV business, most viewers or fans don't care, whatever. They just want to, where do I watch my games? Where do I watch my teams? But in this case, the fact that you could watch your team on a local TV station that's free, that you can just throw your rabbit ears on your TV or an antenna on your TV, or if you have, any television that just gets channel 10, just get your local TV, is incredible. And on top of that, in South Florida, and I know I told you guys this, we have an app that, credit to the people at our station, it's called the Local 10 Plus Platinum app. It's a free app at the App Store that is free to use and free to watch, free to upload, and you could watch every Heat game. So if you guys are out to dinner, you're having a drink and you're at a bar and you don't have the game's not up and you just want to throw on the app and you can watch the Heat game there for free. Like, how cool is that in a time where everything is shifting to streaming and to pay and bundles and all that stuff? To have it is a huge deal. And for us, especially, after we left ABC, to now be able to kind of throw into this is pretty cool. We got 70 games on the schedule this year out of the 82.
Well, you know us so well. We will be at Carbone or Daniels and serving a nice steak and wine, and we'll just be. I mean, that's us.
We're on the app.
You get it.
Giselle and I went to wine country a few years ago, and it was right in the beginning of the Panthers playoffs because we were like, oh, let's go to and we're like sitting there at those little wine stops where you're just drinking, and we're just watching the Panthers game on our phone. Like, that's the best thing, just to have a drink.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, so Monroe, Dade, Broward, even up to the Treasure Coast, no matter where you're at, by the app, you could get it and watch Heat basketball wherever you're at, which is amazing. So we're looking forward to it.
So speaking of this regular season, obviously we open up the season October 21st against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We have a Christmas Day game in Boston against the Celtics. Giannis returns to Milwaukee on January 28th. Then we have the return of Jaime, Tyler Hero, Casper, and Khalil Ware will come here. We have LeBron James coming here twice. And then we have the defending 2026 NBA champs, the Knicks, coming here. So out of all those games on the slate, which one personally are you looking forward to covering the most?
You know what? I think it's November 18th. It's the return of Tyler Khalil, and it's Giannis for the first time against the Bucks here. I think I'm looking forward to that game a lot. I am, because I just think it's so cool. I think it's November 18th. I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's November 18th. It's a big game. It's Giannis against the Bucks. I'm curious to see Tyler, the welcome that he gets here. Seeing Khalil and Jaime again. I just love that storyline. I think it's going to be fun. I think that one is that. I think that's a return.
He's going back.
That's when he goes back there. Yeah,
that's when he goes back to Milwaukee. Exactly. But the one I'm talking about is the one that's here in Miami. That's going to be cool to see. I'm looking for. But obviously, look how they match up against LeBron and that Sixers juggernaut that they're building over there with all that talent. I'm tired of the lights in the studio. That's it. You're getting me in the dark the rest of the way.
That works.
That's all right. You're good.
No, I'm looking
LeBron
forward to
loves
that.
to shine anyway. That LeBron likes to shine. There you go. I
Exactly.
mean,
LeBron, steal my light, LeBron. Go ahead.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind. That's LeBron taste. That's how LeBron does.
But I'm looking
Seriously,
forward to
when the
that.
guys come back to Miami, the whole Tyler and Khalil, Kasparis, and Jaime.
I mean, yeah, I love those guys. You know, it's funny. I love Tyler. Like, I got along well with Tyler. He was fun to cover, and I know the Heat fans are hard on him, and I know there was kind of a love-hate thing there. But I look at Tyler as a success story for the Heat. Like, first-round pick in the middle of the first round, who comes in the finals early in his career, in the bubble, and the shirt with the snare and all that stuff, the look and all that, all those things, and the big shots. Look, he couldn't stay healthy a lot. His defense was certainly a question, but I thought he tried to be in the community. I thought he was a good guy, a good person. But they made the right move, because to get a guy of Giannis's stature, to get a guy that I think when he's at full health is still one of the best 4 or 5 players in the entire NBA, and he's on your team, you do whatever it takes to get him.
100%. I agree. You got to make that move. Top 5 player in the NBA still, and you got to do it. Also wanted to, this is going to be a big one, right? For the first time in the history of the Miami Heat, because the last time the Knicks won 1973, the Heat were not around. But here they are coming into town, and obviously the Heat-Knicks rivalry goes way back. And so this is going to be a major hot ticket in town, which, it's going to be a big deal. And unfortunately, they only come to town one time this year to the Knicks. So we will see how that plays out. But we'll get you out on this. Obviously, Giannis, again, as you just mentioned, move have to be made. Can you put the other one? The move have to be made. Bobby Portis comes down with him. Tim Hardaway Jr., great story. Going to be wearing his Pops number 10. So that's a big deal. We're expecting, obviously, Pella Larson to take the next step. Andrew Wiggins is defense. So the team is forming up nicely. But look, not being able to land a plane and get LeBron in, which a lot of people were maybe expecting that might be able to happen. Bradley Beal, who obviously is not the same player he used to be, and I'm kind of glad it didn't show up. But there's still a couple players out there, and want to get your impression if you think that any of these guys, specifically DeMar DeRozan with the Sacramento Kings, possibly getting a buyout, and then, of course, Klay Thompson with the Mavericks maybe making his way down here. First question is, do you think any of these two or any other major pieces that are going to be maybe able to join the Heat? And if this is it, do you think we have enough as is to at least make some noise and stay away from the play-in, which has been our derailment the last couple of years here?
I think as it is already, I think they're not a play-in team. I think with Giannis and Bam healthy and the pieces they have, the guys you mentioned, I think they're a team beyond the play-in. But I think to be a true contender, I think they need one more thing. And I think that one thing to me is Klay. I think they look at Klay as the piece that's missing because they need one more shooter. And, as DeMar's had a nice career, but he's a mid-range guy. To me, he's not a guy that is going to move the needle in the sense of what the Heat need. You mentioned Bradley Beal. I don't think Bradley Beal was going to be that. I don't think anything's happened this offseason, right? Post Giannis, I mean, that you say to yourself, man, that was the move. Only LeBron. LeBron was the one move where you thought that was the move, and it didn't happen. Since then, you look at it, nothing has bothered me. I think Klay is the guy they're looking at as a potential buyout, that they're holding out hope, and I think that they know that they can be patient. First of all, the first game's still months away, so what are we rushing? The season doesn't start anytime soon. Number two is this is a marathon, not a sprint, in the sense they know the end goal is to be good come April and May at your best and go into the playoffs with Giannis and Bam healthy and whatever else you have as one of the better teams in the East. I think if they can get a Klay, if they can get something of that, stature, so ability to shoot threes, which is what I think they need, one more piece, I think they're a contender in the East. I do. I think without that, they're probably more of a middle of the East team and can work their way toward the top, but I don't think you feel comfortable saying, hey, they're one of the top 2 or 3 teams unless they make one more move.
I know, Lewis, one more for you before I let you go on a rapid fire.
Yeah, so Will, obviously Giannis is an international superstar, and he's going to be on WPLG Local 10, so he's the big story, no doubt. But look, the Panthers, 2-time defending champions, obviously with the injuries this year, couldn't get back. They open up the season in Carolina. They want that cup back this year. So I got to ask you, what is the biggest move between these two right here? And that is Giannis or Brady Tkachuk coming to town. Which of these two players? And again, I know Giannis is a bigger player, bigger star, but man, which of these two moves is going to prove to be bigger in South Florida sports?
And Will, did you keep your Giannis 34 jersey?
No, I didn't. I don't have it.
I got mine.
I don't have it. Well, it's crazy. That day I did the story on it and I had it and I was going to buy it because was sitting there, I'm like, oh, I'll get it later because I had stuff to do. And the later never came because the next day, 2 days later, I came back and it was 7. I was like, oh, that's it. It's over. So that was smart thinking to keep it. It's a good little,
I have it. It's a youth size too, because we're youth extra large, so it's even more rare.
So to answer your question, no, Giannis is still the bigger move. Here's why. Because I think he moves the needle more for the Heat than Brady does for the Panthers. The Panthers just needed health, right? So with Barkov back and a full season of Matthew and what all the other pieces they have, I think they were a contender regardless. Where I think getting Brady just adds strength to strength. Where I think the Heat were mediocre and they needed a big move to get out of that mediocre range. And that move was Giannis, and they're no longer mediocre. They're now in that next level of being a really good team. Now the question is, can they be a really great team? I think the Panthers are already a really good team that could be a championship team again because of Brady.
Perfect. All right, well, we'll let you go on this. The Heat rapid fire. Here we go.
Okay, let's go.
Heat MVP this season. Giannis. Biggest breakout candidate.
Pella. You mentioned it, Pella. Yeah.
Okay. If you had to say, who would be a better duo out there than Giannis and Bam?
Wow. A better duo than Giannis and Bam. I'd have to think about that.
And if there's not any, we'll take that answer as well.
I mean, I guess you could say LeBron and Embiid is pretty damn good, but Embiid can't stay healthy and LeBron is old. So I don't know. I like Giannis and Bam.
Okay, biggest concern, is it the shooting, the guard play, the depth, or the health?
Shooting. You got it. Yeah, they have to. I mean, I think they have shooting, but shooting. I would say, to answer your question, shooting.
One more trade before the deadline?
Yeah, I think they need to make a move. Yeah.
Where do you see us finishing in the East?
As is 4-5. I think in that range. If they can get Clay, I think top 3.
Do we get to the Eastern Conference Finals?
If they get Clay, yes.
Do we make it to the NBA Finals?
Again, if they make that one move, then that would not surprise me. If they don't make a big move like that and say sort of as is and kind of go with bits and pieces, it's going to be tough. Giannis and Bam is a great combo. I love them, and I like what they have around them, but I still think they're missing one more thing. It doesn't have to be a huge move. Like I said, it would have been great if it was LeBron. Just one more thing, I think, make them truly a championship contender.
All right, 2 more. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited should Heat fans be about this upcoming season?
Oh, I think 10. Here's why, because we've been stuck in mediocrity the last couple of years, and the whole Jimmy drama and all that stuff. This fan base was craving to get out of that, and I think you finally did. So excitement level 10.
Perfect. And the last one, this one's good. I mean, I have to even toot my own horn on this one. Whose emotions are going to be higher when the Heat play Milwaukee for the first time? Will Giannis's emotions be higher, or will Tyler's emotions be higher? Good, right?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think it's going to be Giannis, because Giannis seems like a more emotional guy than Tyler, in the sense Tyler is kind of a new generation, like whatever, I'm fine. And even though inside he's probably, he's going to be very passionate. Giannis wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I feel like you're going to see a tear from Giannis. I feel like you're going to see true emotion, because one of the things that caught my attention in meeting him and interviewing him for the first time and seeing him that day was he didn't shy away from saying that this is weird. He's like, it's strange to be in a Heat uniform. It's strange to not be in Milwaukee. And I think I like honesty like that. I don't want a guy to just come and say, oh, whatever, that was a great time, but I'm in the Heat now, I don't care. No, it's okay to reflect and to show emotion. So I think Giannis will, because of that, show more emotion and what it means to him to play against his former team.
I love it.
Well, thank you as always for joining us. We always appreciate our time with you. And man, this last calendar year, it's been nonstop.
You had so much fun.
You go back in the calendar year, the Panthers did raise a banner. The Dolphins have completely, up and rebuilt
retooled the whole thing. Yeah.
Top to the bottom.
Everything in between.
The Hurricane, the Inter Miami won a championship. The Hurricanes almost won a championship. You had F1. You had
World Cup.
The World Cup.
Oh, we got the World Cup. That's right. It's
World Baseball Classic.
It's just
so
been
there's no better town to me than Miami. I love this as a sports town. I know we get crap for our sports fans, but as a town, we can.
We have a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, and we are beyond thrilled. Will's thrills, of course, that you are there to cover it all for us fans.
We're big fans of yours as well. You do great work.
It's fantastic.
I feel the same. I feel the same way with you guys, so I appreciate it.
You and Giselle do fantastic. We really admire and appreciate everything you both do for our South Florida community.
So whoever doesn't know out there, let them know where they can follow you. And if there's any stories you got coming up that are working on that are going to debut soon, let them know.
So easy enough. At Will Manso is my Twitter. It's just my name. You could always ask me questions, DM me, message me. It doesn't matter. I'm happy to answer and help. And then to one show I do want to promote. Obviously, the coverage that we have is going to be fun for the Heat. But we have a special Kane show the night before the Stanford game, which is Thursday night. I think September 3rd. Thursday night, September 3rd. We have a half-hour primetime preview show at 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, I'll be live at Stanford. Previewing the season. We'll be chatting one-on-one with Mario. We'll talk to Mensa, Malachi. Casey's doing a great story on Mark Fletcher's mom. That's going to be Thursday night, September 3rd at 8 o'clock on Channel 10. And on the app, by the way. You can watch it on the app, too. Same thing.
And we know how Miss Fletcher's getting out to California. We know how she's
got that big old RV that Michael Irvin's going to be following.
I'm telling you, if you ever have some flight issues, you just call Mama Fletcher. I'm sure she'll pack you guys in there.
You will drive, though she told me she's leaving the Saturday before the game.
Oh,
for Friday game.
Weekend. Go ahead. It's
she got to drive all the way to California, so she's leaving Saturday before the game.
Well, that is a long drive.
It's not like those crazy flights you were going back and forth to Edmonton during
the flight. I'll take the RV any day over those flights. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. Have fun this Saturday. You know, Dolphins and Giants preseason game. And then obviously next week will be our last preseason game against the Falcons. We'll probably see some Tua down here. So until then, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Will. Take care.
All right.
Want to talk about let's do the.
Which one to talk about?
So obviously we were at training camp first of all, thank you, Will Manso, for joining us. He is the absolute
we
best.
had so much fun with him.
And he always is. And as mentioned, he's always available, always, engaging with everybody and he does a great job covering everything for us, the fans. So thank you so much, Will. But yeah, we were at training camp the last couple of days and we got some cool stuff. I know you wanted to show your grandmother who's in the room right now.
My grandmother, first of all, gives Will a compliment. Best broadcasters and guests. So our big fan, Josephine Evie, big Dolphins fan. So Nan, today, we were at the garage sale and you saw our haul from the other day. So I got you this shirt for women. So we will be mailing that to you. However, Lou wanted to make mention that this side had like ties. So he's not too sure if he wants his grandmother-in-law wearing this around Daytona because it's kind of open on the side. I said, leave my grandmother alone. So I can't wait till you get this, Nan, but this will be coming up to you in Daytona Beach. Yep. It was very, very cheap.
Absolutely. And I scored some pretty cool stuff too. So we mentioned University of Miami and Dolphins. So here's Jalen Phillips's autographed jersey, throwback jersey that we were able to pick up at the garage sale. So that was pretty cool. And also got the chair back from the old orange chair back with Dwight Stevenson, Hall of Famer, signed it. So again, next year when
Adrian's laughing at us.
Listen, when you get to next year when they do the garage sale, make sure you get there early. They got some great stuff going on.
My grandma's gonna look so hot in this.
She will. She definitely will.
Look so this with some pedal pushers. I cannot wait to get it to you.
Yes. So training camp, unfortunately, like we mentioned, is over for the general public, but the Dolphins will be hard at work the rest of the way here, leading up to their preseason game on Saturday against the Giants, as you mentioned, and their finale against the Falcons and Tua coming to town. So that should be fun.
Next Friday night.
They'll take that last week off before the season opener in Las Vegas. We will be there. It's going to be a great time. Maybe one of, if not the most winnable game on the schedule for the Dolphins. So hopefully we start off with a bang, and then we'll see how the rest of the schedule navigates. But
speaking of Vegas, like I said, that will be our first away game of the season. And just to plug in a little bit, our tour of Allegiant Stadium is sold out, but we do have plenty of spots available for the pool party that we're having on Saturday, September 12th, starting at 8 o'clock a.m. It's at Sturka Stadium Swim. So if you guys want to join us at the pool party, please let us know. We're really excited about that. But after the tour of Allegiant Stadium, even though there's no spots on our tour, we're having a nice social at Tommy Rockers. It's the official Miami Dolphins bar of the Las Vegas Miami Dolphins fan club. So anyone's welcome to meet us at Tommy Rockers on Friday, September 11th, starting at 5 p.m., probably till around 7 p.m. We're excited to have you. And it's going to be a great time. There's a lot that we have planned. Our friends at TPP, tailgates and socials. So you're going to see tons of Dolphin fans in Vegas, and just hoping we leave week one with a win.
Yeah, that's our hope there. And Tommy Rockers is an official Dolphin bar, the official Dolphin bar in Las Vegas. They got memorabilia all over the walls. Vince Neil, former Motley Crue frontman, used to own the bar, and he is a really big Dolphin fan. So so all the up-to-date information is on the website, or you're going to pull it up here. But yes, it is 4275 Dean Martin Drive in Vegas. And it's an official bar. official Dolphin bar with all the stuff out there. So definitely make it a point to come out. And if you're going to Vegas or you know somebody who is, make sure they know that there's going to be a get-together on Friday night from Tommy Rockers in Las Vegas.
No, it'll be great. Here's also a picture of the Las Vegas Miami Dolphins fan club. Yes, I do.
But no, we're looking forward to it. I don't think Mendoza's going to be getting that start. I think it's going to be Kirk Cousins. But, yes, here's the official Las Vegas Dolphins fan club in front of Tommy Rockers. And like I said, it's a lot of memorabilia and stuff on the walls, aqua walls. So this is the place to be. Definitely make it a point to stop out there. If you're going or if you know any Fins fans going out to Vegas, make sure they drop into Tommy Rockers.
Sammy says, tell me with enough time for me to take the jet to the garage sale. Sammy, you don't want to miss it. There was so much. I told Lou, no more today. We ended up getting more stuff. My grandma says, lovely, I'll be sporting my shirt around hot, hot, hot. You better not be thinking you're going to be hot, hot, hot. Also, Alfredo in the house. Can't wait for Vegas. Nice job,
Alfredo on
guys.
Tuesday. Yeah.
We did. He was at camp. He was on the garage sale line as well.
Yes, he was.
He did well. Viva Las Vegas. Let the good times roll.
And
so
hopefully it will.
That, guys, it's gonna be good. We're looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, thanks again for joining. Again, if you are watching on X, hop on over to YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. We're almost at 900. For us, that's a big deal. Yeah. So we're hoping to get as many people on board. Love talking sports and interacting. So hit that like button. And until next time, see you then.
Pins up, guys.